Hey, I'm Chris. I'm a gearhead and I live in Las Vegas and I love 80s synthesizers and Keytars. And today I'm going to review my two Casio Keytars. And I love these guys, and right afterwards I'm going to review my Yamaha Keytars. So this is the Casio AZ1. This came out, I believe, 1986. It's one of my coolest, most favorite Keytars from the 1980s. Not because it has a whole bunch of super features on it that other Keytars don't have. It's just because it's been in so many 80s videos, that's why. And the biggest point of all of my Keytars and my collection for 80s Keytars are Keytars that made it into 1980s new wave or R&B music videos. Now, what is a Keytar? Keytars are basically a portable keyboard or a portable piano or a portable synthesizer that keyboard players wanted to run around on stage with a whole bunch of they just wanted to be free. They wanted to come out from behind the rack. They wanted to dance. They wanted to be front runners. They wanted to be in front of the band just like guitar players and lead singers. So these guys were brought into the scene. Now, originally I believe the Keytar came out in the 1700s with the clavicle kind of Keytar, but it got a big resurgence in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, and I'm a child of the 80s, so I fell in love with Keytar. Now, I'm going to cover two Keytars in this video, and then I will cover my Yamaha Keytars in my next video. So, the Casio AZ1, what is this guy? What does it do? It is a Keytar from the 1980s, I believe 1985. It is a remote Keytar or a MIDI controller. What is that? A MIDI controller is a keyboard that doesn't have its own sound. You have to plug it into another synthesizer or a sound module or a little box or a rack module in order to get sound out of it. Now, this guy has no sound of its own, but I have used the advent of wireless MIDI to hook this up to another Keytar. And that's another thing. I'm not just featuring one Keytar, I'm featuring two Keytars, and only with the 21st century technology and 20th century technology, I've combined them together to feature two Keytars. So I am using this MIDI controller to control this Casio CZ-1000. Now, what is the Casio CZ-1000? That is a Keytar from, I believe, 1986, I believe. So I believe this one came out first, and actually, vice versa. I think that one came out first, 1985, with the Casio CZ-101. The Casio 1000 is the bigger version of the Casio 101. Same size keys, same control panel in the same place, except for little buttons. It's got a cool, sexy gel on top of it instead of buttons. So I believe that is 1985, the Casio CZ-1000, and this is the Casio AZ1, I believe 1986. So I am playing 1985 with 1986 technology, and of course help from 21st century wireless MIDI. Now, what I love about this Keytar is that I got it for less than $300, and when I get Keytars online, especially since I wanted to finish my 80s collection, I don't feel comfortable paying more than $300 for a MIDI controller for a Keytar that doesn't even make its own sound. So I will guide you through all the stuff that this thing can do, and the one thing about MIDI controllers is they can't do anything more than the original Keytar or synthesizer that it's playing. So let's bring you through the features that are on this Keytar. Now, you've got portamento, you've got a sustain, you've got a bend, this is assignable actually. Both of these are assignable. One is volume, one is, I don't use that for anything. Again, definable buttons for features, so you could use this for modeling, you could use it for distortion, you could use it for pitch bend. You can change what these little things do. That is for solo if you want to play anything in mono. This is a little switch that you can use for your octaves. Again, this is for your definable knobs, whether or not you want to use portamento or turn it off or on. All of these little switches on top are for your different tones. So you could play different tones, as well as you could switch tones from to top to the bottom. Another definable button. You've got MIDI channels. The funny thing about MIDI channels with these original Keytars, with these original MIDI controllers, is that they can't go from like one MIDI channel to 16. A couple of these first MIDI controllers could only do like MIDI channel 1 to MIDI channel 2. So A and B would be MIDI channel 1 and 2, and then A plus B is both MIDI channels. So I believe I have this on a piano right now. Let's listen. Oh, a bass sound. See, as you change the buttons, it will change the tone. Now, as you can see, I am playing everything with this little guy, with this little wireless MIDI. And the keyboard I am playing is the Casio CZ-1000. Now, you can see it is a cool, I believe it's 49 keys. It's got, this is a distortion, a phase distortion keytar. Basically, this synthesizer was made in 1985. It was supposed to be the Casio version of the Yamaha DX7. I don't know if it didn't sell out the DX7 by any means. The DX7, I don't know, that baby sold out. But this guy is Casio's way of taking frequency modulation and making it more difficult. Rather than having a whole bunch of algorithms to edit and to use to make your sounds, they basically, there it goes. There's your envelope generator. You get 8 of those, and you could change the waveform of all of your patches. So you could change the waveform and then edit 8 different sound envelopes in order to make your patches in this guy. I don't really like the original sounds in this guy, but I'm gonna add it all together when I play the Keytar with it. So as you can see, these are the sounds that I'm using for my Keytar. So I haven't had coffee in 2 weeks because I have to go into the dentist, and I figured since the dentist is gonna do a deep cleaning, I might as well just have the damn coffee. So I've just had like 3 cups of coffee, and I haven't had coffee in 2 weeks. So this tutorial, this review can go all over the freaking place. 80s Keytars and Casio Keytars. So this is the Casio AZ1. I'm about to play sounds from the Casio CZ-1000, and I'm going to put together a small track. I'm going to play some bass, I'm going to play some trumpet, I'm going to play some keys, and let's see what it sounds like. And I'm going to loop it on a looper pedal just so all the sounds are coming right out of that guy, the Casio CZ-1000. Let's see. Do it. 3 different tracks, 1 keytar, 2 keytars, all together. Tracks. So now let's go back and cover what we played. Now we have a drum, we've got bass. Oh. I think we got keys. Keys. What the hell are the keys? Keys. I've got trumpet. Synthy trumpet, but trumpet. And I threw strings on just to make it blend-ish. Now, one thing I didn't mention about the AZ1 and about this MIDI controller, and pretty much all MIDI controllers now, the MIDI controller can only do what the keyboard itself can do. Now, this one's got a sustain on it, it's got a portamento on it, but honestly, the sustain doesn't work on the CZ-1000. I don't know if I have to go into the CZ-1000 settings and like edit them to make the sustain work. I noticed that the sustain works if I use this on the Yamaha DX100, but it doesn't seem to work on the Casio CZ-1000. I don't know why that is. But again, your MIDI controller only works and can only do all the things that your sound module, that your synthesizer that you're plugging into can do. I've used this to play the vocas, and the vocas can't do any sustained or suspended notes as well, unless you just hold down the thing. So I'm guessing this can't suspend notes on keytars and synthesizers that can't suspend notes. Now, what is my verdict in this guy? How do I feel about this guy? I'm in love with it. Why? Because it's a big chunk of the 1980s. It's a bow to all the guitarists in the 1980s that danced with this in a music video. And honestly, it looks like a cartoon keytar from my favorite rock band. Now, as you can see, the keytar that Kimber is holding in that artwork right there looks just like the Casio AZ1, except it's got a little M on the end. I think there's another picture way up there. See that keytar she's holding? It's just like a pink Casio AZ1 right there. So I'm in love with this keytar. Again, here's another view of it, the Casio AZ1. All it needs is that little M on the end, and it would be that keytar from Gem and the Holograms. So again, what is my verdict with this keytar? It's pretty damn awesome. It is the 80s, and I love it. I got it for under 300 bucks. It is cool because it is wireless now because of the advent of wireless MIDI. I don't like that it could only do 2 MIDI channels and you could do at least 2 at a time. That's kind of cool. I don't like that it can't do what the keyboard itself can't do, which is really odd. I always wonder why this Keytar and the next Keytar I'm about to review can only do several MIDI channels when the Roland Axis, this Keytar, it can play, all you have to do is hit the MIDI channel and then hit these keys 1 through 16 to play up to 16 different MIDI channels. So I'm not really sure why they didn't incorporate that kind of technology into this guy. But all in all, the Casio AZ1000 is an awesome, cool, classic Keytar from the 1980s. I would recommend it if you could get one for under $300. I would. I believe I paid just like, I'm not sure. I think I paid like $2 something for this and then shipping. But it does play all the sounds of a Keytar or keyboard or sound module that you got. I would recommend getting one. It's a classic 80s Keytar. You can see it in a couple of different videos from the 1980s, and I love it. And it can make a pretty good sound when all put together. Big hugs, health, happiness from Las Vegas.